We are entering a new era of video games. The console wars are over, and the platform wars have begun. People still having game box wars in 2024 into 2025 are weirdos. It's all about the games. It's always been about the games. Sony and Microsoft are doing what they need to do to run a profitable gaming business, and Nintendo's doing the same. Some believe Nintendo needs to follow along with everyone else, as this is where everyone else is going. Leaders lead, they don't follow. People saying this don't know why these companies are doing what they're doing. They know what they want as gaming consumers, but they don't understand the business side of things. Now, it's not necessary to have this knowledge to enjoy your games, but if you're going to talk on this subject and make suggestions and declarations, you actually need to know what you're talking about. There was a letter from the president of Nintendo to the investors on their plans in expanding the reach of their brand to attract more consumers to their IP. They stated in the letter how their hardware and software business is the core of their business, and went on to describe some of the ways they have created what they call touch points to connect consumers to their IP. They listed theme parks, movies, visual content, merchandising, and last but apparently not least, mobile devices. Some people have decided to take these two words, kidnap them by tying them up with a blindfold and throwing them into an unmarked van, and taking them far, far away from their context to the land of Nintendo going multi-platform. It would be irresponsible journalism at best and bonehead stupid at worst to read this letter and come away with the notion of Nintendo looking to put their exclusive games on anything other than a Nintendo system. Part of stating your video game hardware business is the core part of your business is not doing things to devalue your hardware, and going multi-platform will be doing just that. Those hoping for Nintendo to fail so they put their games on other platforms will have to cry into their PC, because this isn't going to happen. They can talk about how underpowered and outdated Switch hardware is all day. The numbers show normal people don't care. What Nintendo does works, and works so good, their competitors are copying it. Nintendo expanding into these other areas isn't even close to being new and has little to do with where people think the industry is going. The Nintendo Power Video Game Magazine came out way back in the 80s. You had the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which aired on weekday afternoons, with the Zelda cartoon airing every Friday. You also had a few Saturday morning cartoons for Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, as well as Captain N, the Game Master. You also had a couple movies. Many avid gamers from the 80s and early 90s know about the infamous Mario movie. There was also another movie starring Fred Savage called The Wizard, which was essentially an advertisement for Super Mario Bros. 3. Nintendo isn't new to this, they're true to this. Nintendo has always looked to expand themselves into as many avenues as possible. This has nothing to do with where the industry is going now, and everything to do with what they have always done. Everyone else follows trends because they have to. Nintendo does their own thing because it works, and is wildly successful. I need to address a take I read in the comments section of another video. Some guy said Nintendo has always been third party because they've had games on other platforms. This is a pretty goofy take and shows the person has no knowledge of what they're talking about. Donkey Kong came out on Atari years before the NES was released. Mario Brothers, not to be confused with Super Mario Brothers, would be the exception, as it was released first on arcade, then on the NES, then other platforms like the Atari, Commodore 64, and PCs. This was when Nintendo was still a small company trying to make it in video games during a gaming crash. Nintendo in the 80s isn't the same as Nintendo in 2025. There's also the Philips CDI games Nintendo licensed out to Philips, which Nintendo didn't even make. These are exceptions, not rules, which make Nintendo always being third party. If you look at their mainline exclusive games, they haven't been on anything other than a Nintendo. Their mobile game offerings are just that, mobile game offerings. They're not ports of their console games. By definition, these mobile games are not multi-platform games. Multi-platform involves taking a game and putting it on multiple platforms. This is also not Nintendo greasing the skids to start making their games multi-platform. This is Nintendo capitalizing in all areas in a way which doesn't cannibalize already established avenues such as their hardware and software gaming business. I already did a video on this, but I suppose I have to mention it again. Their console games and mobile games do not cannibalize each other. Sony and Microsoft putting all their games on other platforms cannibalizes their hardware. You don't sell game boxes without game box exclusives. But if you're not worried about selling game boxes because you're ditching your hardware, then this doesn't matter. Go and actually read the paragraph these two words, mobile devices, is taken from. Nintendo is not talking about gaming titles here. They're speaking on people's connection to their characters. Nintendo IP is Mario, Link, Samus, Princess Zelda, Luigi, Donkey Kong, Peach, Yoshi, etc. Putting these characters in movies, mobile games, and as action figures with Amiibo, and having amusement parks centered around these characters is how they'll get people to connect with the characters and ultimately purchase their video game hardware and software. This is something their competitors wish they had. People complain about Nintendo's value coming from nostalgia. Why is this seen as a crime? Why do people think companies spend billions on advertising? And why TV shows have constant commercial breaks? It's because companies are purchasing mind share and want you to connect with their products on an intimate level. Every company wishes consumers had a nostalgic connection to their products, and that company would be stupid not to lean into that. It also comes off as hypocritical when these same people talk about how this or that retro title should get a remake. Nintendo doesn't need these other platforms to succeed. Nintendo's exclusives sell way more than games on multiple platforms. Some people are mad about that. And all I can say to these people is go on Amazon and buy a cape, a mask, and a mermaid suit. So you can be super mad, bat mad, and aqua mad.